Welcome into the Fantasy Football Playmakers podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Popolars, who you can find on Twitter at PopesFFH. Joined as always by my co-host, Ryan Mackey, who you can find at Mackey_FFB. Ryan, how's it going? It's week 3 of the preseason.
Yeah, not too bad, man. I unfortunately didn't get to watch a whole lot of games this week. I got caught up in some family stuff. I was supposed to do a little paragraph for yards per on a guy that I was trying to avoid in drafts, but I got caught up doing some stuff, so didn't get to do a whole lot this weekend outside of family things. So I'm excited to get back to normal and watch some preseason games this week and ready to talk about some risers and fallers from week 2.
Yeah, I mean, family comes first, so it's understandable. It's only preseason.
Yep.
All that we ever get from this is overreactions anyways, right?
I mean, you overdrafted Laviska Shenault, apparently.
Yeah, whatever. 7th round, whatever. I'll live.
Might not be bad.
No, I feel like he had the highest upside there, The rest of the guys around him. I was going to take Judy, but he was taking two picks before me, so it was kind of like, ugh.
Oof. Yeah.
No running backs left.
It's rough.
The quarterbacks were, You're in that tight end range. So I was like,
Is that a 1 QB league that you drafted?
No, it's super flex. It's fantasy in session, actually. 2. Second year they're doing it, I think. So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I don't know. I don't really like my team so far through 7 rounds. So it's the complete opposite of any team that I would ever draft. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's only redraft, so I'll live.
You never know. It might work out for you.
Sometimes maybe I'll have like a new strategy.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah, you haven't got to the end of the draft yet, so you never really know what your team's going to end up looking like.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, Ryan, before we jump into the meat and potatoes, hit them.
Today's episode is brought to you by King Fantasy Sports. Go check out the King Sports Draft Kit and get the advantage over the rest of your leagues this season. Be sure you're doing the right preparation and start your season off right. You get everything from rankings, breakouts, and values to busts and sleepers. Your league has some funky settings. Learn how to make your own projections as well. Stop sitting on the sidelines and buy this draft kit today. Guide is only $8.99, and if you use our promo code Playmakers, you'll save an additional 10% off and get everything you'll need to not just compete, but dominate your draft this season.
Well said. I agree. I'll second it. Go download it. Try it.
I looked at it before the show. They've already updated the ETN news. They've already updated Robinson's place. So they're
on top of it
with that stuff.
That's a pretty good draft guide, That's like hours, So
I still prefer ours, I'm not gonna lie, but still. Go check out both.
Slight bias.
It's only $10. Yeah, ain't a bias because I don't work for them, but still.
YOLO. Either way, ours is better. No. But breaking news this week, I think the biggest thing that I have to talk about right now would be Robbie Anderson signs an extension, 2 years, $29.5 million. Robbie Anderson's good. He's not bad. In Carolina, he's going to see a lot of targets. Both him and DJ Moore had close to 100 last season. I think the biggest takeaway from this would be Terrace Marshall. I think Terrace Marshall kind of takes a little hit here. I think that a big push was that he was going to be the wide receiver 2 next year, undisputed. However, he's still a talented player, and I think that he could overtake Robbie Anderson if that's the route they go. But either way, I think it puts a little bit of a ding on Terrace Marshall. How about you, Ryan? I mean, aside from that, we know who Robbie Anderson is. He's good. He's going to be a viable fantasy asset for multiple weeks throughout the season. I think just it really kind of hurts that Terrace Marshall projection of being able to have that full role next year.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously it does hurt Marshall, but I still like Terrace Marshall as a player and as a dynasty asset. It's just he just kind of takes stays in that third role type of situation there. But saw last year they were effective with 3 wide receivers without Christian McCaffrey, and we don't know if that's going to hold up or not, if he's going to be able to hold up for a whole season or the following season even. So I don't know. I don't feel like it moves Marshall's needle all that much, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think it lowers them at all, but it also takes away from a lot of people that did think, like me, I honestly did think that he would be the wide receiver 2 at least next season. So obviously that takes away from that a little bit, but he very well could end up being just a better player come next season. So he still could be the wide receiver 2, but obviously with that extension, they believe in Anderson. They like how he did. I mean, 95 catches last year, just under 1,100 yards, only 3 touchdowns though. So maybe Marshall sees the touchdown upside that Moore and Robbie Anderson didn't get last year, and Robbie Anderson is just more of the PPR wide receiver 2 that you'd want for the future.
I like it. I agree. I think, like you said, I feel like it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't necessarily move the needle on Marshall, but I feel like his ceiling that we were hoping for next year might be limited a little bit.
Yep.
Just because Carolina does struggle. You mentioned it. Robbie Anderson only had 3. DJ Moore, I think, only had 4 touchdowns last year. The wide receivers just don't get touchdowns in Carolina. And I don't know if it's more so a scheme because last year they didn't have CMC. So I struggle to worry that Marshall ever have a touchdown upside. I just don't think that it's built into their scheme unless they decide to change that, which we could see this season. But I just think that all 3 can be viable. We see it in other offenses. Cincinnati has 3 that are usually viable. Pittsburgh has 3 that are usually viable. So I'm not totally worried. I just kind of puts a little bit of a damper on him being like a big part of that offense next year as far as Terrace Marshall goes. But
yeah, I mean, Moore and Anderson only combined for 7 touchdowns last year. So I expect that passing offense in general to be better this year. So even if they do throw the ball a little bit more, I feel like Terrace Marshall is still going to be a viable option, even with Robbie Anderson still there next year.
No, I agree. All right, Ryan, injury time. Unfortunately, one of the favorite rookies this year, another running back goes down. Travis Etienne out for the season. A Liz Frank injury. How are we feeling overall, Ryan? Obviously, this year is gone and out the books, but do you think he can return next year without complications, or how's your outlook really look? I mean, for a running back who came into the league a little bit later in his age bracket, but do we think next year that he's going to be who we thought he'd be this year, or do we feel like he's going to have a little bit of a decreased value now just because this injury is one that's known to kind of sometimes linger, especially for running backs?
Yeah, to be honest, I have no idea what to look for next year because I don't know how that injury like hinders people later on. Like after they have it, I didn't really do the due diligence of looking to see how people have recovered from that, to see if any running backs have came back from it. But by the sounds of it, it sounds like a nasty injury. Like it, just from what I got out of it, it basically he dislocated or fractured the middle part of his foot, so he can't put any pressure on his foot in any way, shape, or form for the most part. He's going to have surgery. They already put him on IR, so I don't know if they put him on like season-ending IR or if it for sure is the end of his season.
It's season-ending because I think it's Adam Schefter, I saw tweeted it, that anybody before next Tuesday that's put on IR is season-ending. After that, it can be short-term IR. So he's done for this year. Travis Etienne is definitely done this year. So
yeah, so obviously that's sad to see because I know a lot of people had him as a top 3 rookie running back this year. I even saw some people have him at number 1, which I couldn't really argue with the stats from last year in his college career. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, man, because I honestly, like I said, I didn't do the due diligence of looking into that type of injury and just seeing what people look like coming back from it. But the thing that's really like bothering me, I guess, I don't really know why, but it's all the James Robinson people all of a sudden taking like a victory lap, saying how they knew that something would happen and he'd be a workhorse, which nobody knew that. You didn't know that this injury was going to occur. For all we know, week 1 could have came around and ETN could have handled most of the work, and everybody would have been the ETN guys would have been taking their victory lap. So don't do that. Don't be that guy taking the victory lap just because the injury occurred. But I think he does come back ready to go, at least from my opinion, just from how long he's going to have to recover from it. And in Dynasty, I'm not moving on from him unless I'm a win now team in a deeper league that maybe you needed him to shore up your lineup from week to week. Other than that, I think he's a hold for me. Just stash him on your IR and hope he comes back ready to go next year.
All right, I can get behind that, and I was never the highest ETN guy. I mean, I had him at 3, um, and I don't know. I'm not totally in on ETN, like you said. I'm not really looking to sell them. I'm not looking to really acquire them unless the price is cheap. So for me, ETN is just kind of like it's a sad story. And like you said, don't take that victory lap on James Robinson. I mean, you could argue that Travis Etienne had injury history and that something could have happened, but you didn't win because you had James Robinson. It's purely just, yeah, James Robinson's going to be viable now, which we'll get to. But I just think, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't like the victory laps for injuries. They happen, and it's terrible. I mean, it's a human being. You know, this kid's 23, first year in the NFL, living his dream, and he doesn't even make it to week 1 and gets injured. So I wish for a speedy recovery. I hope he comes back. I don't want to see it being a big issue for him in the future.
Did you happen to see how he did it? Did it happen in game? Because I honestly don't know. I don't know if it happened in practice. I don't know if it happened.
It was in game. He played. I think it happened. Honestly, there was a play where he came out of the backfield. Trevor Lawrence hit him on almost like it wasn't even a wheel. It was just kind of like a out to the flat. And he like slipped and stumbled. Like he almost fell over. And I'm wondering if it happened there. He like kind of like caught the ball, went to turn up field sort of, and like slipped a little bit almost on the turf or something. And something weird happened there. And he kind of almost fell to the ground and then got up, like kind of moved his momentum a couple more yards and he went down. It was real early in the game. And I don't remember seeing him after that. So I'm wondering if that was there, you know what I mean, with him slipping or whatnot. Maybe his foot just went the wrong way. It kind of looks like he got up on his toes there. If you really watch it, it could have easily been right there, I think. Because I even kind of watching it, I was kind of like, ooh, that was awkward. You know what I mean? So that's why I remember it. And then it came out that he had hurt his foot like that. So it could have been that. I don't know that for sure, but it stuck in my mind because it looked weird and awkward the way he caught the ball and like fell. You know what I mean? He didn't fall, but like it was weird.
I mean, the initial report came out saying that he just had a mild foot sprain, and then I'm pretty sure he got an MRI done, and that's when they found that he had that Liz Frank injury. So
yeah, that all came out today. So who knows? They definitely didn't play after. I mean, he didn't play most of the game. You know, I mean, it was just really, I think it might have even been the first or second series that happened. So, same game, another player, 1 year older, Adam Troutman. Also, he was carted off during that game with an ankle injury. Saw some reports today that it seems that he avoided serious injury. Are we worried? I mean, we saw Jawan Jennings kind of take over the passing game in the first 2 preseason games. So are we worried about Adam Troutman's injury possibly opening the door for Jennings? I mean, we don't know. You know what I mean? They may just wanting to get extra looks at Jennings. I don't know if that's their game plan. I still like Adam Troutman this season for fantasy, but Ryan, are we worried? I mean, they didn't really say much about it. They just said that only thing I've seen is that he's avoided serious injury. So
yeah, I did see that he's going to go see a specialist to see exactly how long he's going to be out for, but the x-rays were negative on any sort of like breaks or fractures or anything like that. So I'm assuming he's probably got like a severe sprain. It's the only thing I can really think of that wouldn't show up on an x-ray. So it's hard to say what it looks like without getting the specialist's recommendation and what he has to say. But yeah, I hope he returns quickly for selfish and humane reasons, because I have a lot of shares of Troutman this year, especially in leagues that I punted on tight end. So
are you looking to add Jawan Jennings in those situations? Just because we don't know, you know, that timetable could be long, it could be short, but people are going to make moves because Jennings kind of has been popping at people. I've seen people adding him in my leagues. Like, should people be adding him if you own Troutman, you think?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's bad practice to do that just because I feel like the tight end is useful in that offense, but I think I'm personally gonna wait to see what exactly happens with Troutman. If you're in a deeper league and have the roster spot, yeah, sure, by all means, take advantage of the opportunity that could be presented to you by adding him. But in shallower leagues, I think you're probably safe to find another more viable tight end than a guy I had never even heard of before until like yesterday. So
Same. He was a wide receiver at Oregon. That's why.
No. He very well could. I mean, if he's a converted wide receiver, then it could very well be viable for a pass catching role. But Troutman's already been. Is he a rookie? Is Jennings a rookie?
No, second year.
Yeah. See, I have no idea where he's at, to be honest with you. So,
he can catch the ball. He looked pretty good.
In shower leagues, I'm probably just looking for a more viable, trusted option, especially at tight end. In deep leagues, yeah, sure, shoot your shot and see what happens with it.
All right, 3. You could argue 4. We'll start with the least important, in my personal opinion. Lynn Bowden hit IR today for the Dolphins. He was going to kind of be a gadget guy. I don't know how viable in fantasy he would have been. Maybe a flex option, depending on how effective that offense was. But he hit IR. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming that means the season's done by what they had said with ETN. But either way, that's kind of a down tick there for any Lynn Bowden owners out there. Ryan, do you have anything on Bowden?
No, it doesn't do much for me personally. I had a share traded right away, right before they signed Will Fuller and drafted Waddle. So, I didn't really think I did much of anything after that.
But the 3 big running backs, I'm going to say they're big, but CH we'll start with because that's the murkiest situation, unless Ryan knows something I couldn't find. CAH hurt his ankle, doesn't appear to be a high ankle sprain, is all they have said so far. Ryan, are we worried about CAH, who now coming into his second season is injured again? He was injured throughout his first season. Any concern there with CEH? Or, it's hard. Like we said with Troutman, you don't know the true diagnosis yet, but injuries kind of starting to seem like a thing here for Clyde. Are we worried, or should we just be like unworried?
See, I am a little worried, to be honest. He was my guy that going into this year. I was trying to get as many shares of him as I possibly could because I feel like he was a guy that people were kind of missing the bigger picture on him last year, just with his overall effectiveness in basically 12 games that he played last year. But the ankle injury is concerning just because, not because it's a serious sprain or anything like that as far as we know at the moment, but it's because he's already had multiple lower body injuries in his career already. He's, like you said, last year he missed a couple games due to lower body injuries, and it is starting to seem like maybe it's a thing for him, but I don't like to think that way, especially when a guy is so young, and I think he's super talented. So I'm trying not to read into that too much, but like you said, it's hard to say when you don't have any sort of prognosis on what his injury is and what the extent of it is, I guess.
And it's tough. Guys that have that injury issue aren't always terrible. Look at Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook always loses fantasy value and always did until last season when he really popped off. But Cook is a very good runner. He's a very good running back, very good fantasy option. It just ended up being that he couldn't stay healthy. So I'm not with CH. I'm not overly worried. I still think that he could break out this season. I think that offense is going to be potent. I think that he's going to still handle most of the workload as long as he's not injured. But like you had said, multiple lower body injuries. And like you said, I hate to label it already as an injury prone, but it's kind of seeming like, and it's tough though. Running backs are always dinged up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if this is high ankle, then yeah, that changes the story for me. You know what I mean? I feel like he definitely is going to struggle this season with a high ankle sprain because it's a nagging injury. So
if in the leagues that I own CH in, I've already gone and picked up Daryl Williams, and I would probably suggest other people do the same. And if you're in a deeper league, I'd probably go get, if not Daryl Williams, get both Daryl Williams and Derek McKinnon for a pass catching role just in case. Like I said, especially in deeper league for McKinnon because he's been kind of hurt throughout his career or last couple of years of his career, and he's just kind of a guy, but he does have some pass catching prowess. So if you're in a deeper PPR league, probably a good option to at least look into it and get a piece of that offense while you don't really know what's going on with CEH.
Good advice. Another second-year running back, another one that struggled with injuries both years, it will appear. So DeAndre Swift, Dan Campbell came out and said that he's worried about his conditioning post-groin injury. There's also a rumor that I saw. I don't know if it's a rumor. I'm going to say it's a rumor. But Jamal Williams might be the lead back in week 1. Are we worried about DeAndre Swift here, Ryan, or is it nothing that we should be worried about? Basically, because once his conditioning is up to snuff, he's going to be the main option in Detroit.
I mean, from what I saw, Campbell said he's not even certain that he's going to start, that he's going to play in week 1. He's pretty up in the air with that at the moment right now. So that's a little concerning. But for me, I think as long as he's good to go by week 2 or 3, I'm fine drafting him. I'm fine with where he's at. I think some people will panic a little bit on him, especially with Jamal Williams there and Jamal Williams being a talented back that he is. So if you can get him a round or 2 later, and especially as like an RB3 at this point, like if people really panic in your drafts and they're just like letting them fall, yeah, I don't read too much into an injury just because they're saying that he's uncertain for week 1. Like, we know how many backs do you really think are going to play all 17 games this season? It's going to be very, very few, if any, play all 17 games. So if people are panicking and trying to sell them or move them, they're willing to buy. If you can get them at a cheapish value, especially for a running back as talented as he is, then I would do it and just kind of take the L for week 1 if you need to, and just hope that he's back by, I'd say, week 3 at the latest. If they say that he's good to go by week 2, I think you're kind of golden with him as long as he stays healthy. Even week 3, I'd be happy. I'd be fine with it because I just don't think we're going to see a whole lot of guys play all 17 games.
Fair. I like it. Last but not least, Daryl Henderson looks to be good to go for week 1, but he did have a thumb sprain. Ryan, any worry here, or just kind of probably week 1 more so they're just letting it heal because they need him for the regular season?
Yeah, I think I think he should be good to go. Jake Funk and Xavier Jones have both looked effective so far, so maybe they don't really try to rush him back until he's completely 100%. And once he is, I think he's a guaranteed weekly RB2 at worst in that offense. So I think he's good to go. And if you got him, then you should be happy.
I like it. Now, risers. Ryan, you made fun of me for picking mine, so I'm going to go first. You'll have to take the back seat.
Wait one second. You didn't mention this.
Oh, I didn't. I skipped it. I did. You're right. All right, Ryan.
There's 2
Good
things.
catch. All right. So one pet peeve, real quick. I skipped this earlier. That's why. I don't know if you've noticed. It's kind of bothering me that NFL Network's only showing the same football teams for each preseason game. And I want to know why. So if somebody out there knows, please comment and or DM me on Twitter, because it makes no sense. I get it. It's Justin Fields. I get it. It's Trevor Lawrence. But if I'm growing the game, don't I want to show more teams? Do you know what I'm saying? Like the preseason, you're kind of using it as like there's a lot of people watching right now. Like, why not show a couple extra teams? I mean, it seems like every weekend we're getting Justin Fields and the Bears. We're getting Trevor Lawrence. We're getting the Bills, who aren't even playing Josh Allen. You're getting teams, all the same teams. You know what I mean? And it's just whoever they're playing. So, I don't know. I'm just saying. I just wanted to say that. Ryan, I don't know if you noticed it, but it's kind of annoying. I don't know if it's just me being OCD, I guess. I don't know. Or are you bothered?
I didn't notice, but like I told you before the show, I couldn't watch the Bills game because they were supposed to be on the NFL app. Like, you're supposed to be able to watch it on the app. And it ended up not being on there at all. I actually don't even think there was a game showing on there that I saw anyways. Like, I tried to watch one of the games that I could, and I ended up having to watch the Bills game on my Fire Stick. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but I would appreciate it if the NFL figured it out. And
that might have been
wrap together.
That might have been shoot, what do they call it? The rights, because were you like in the network area? Like, do you see Bills games weekly?
Oh yeah. Every time that they're
So if they had it on Channel 4.
Yeah, but usually whatever game is showing on NFL Network is usually the game that comes on. And it was supposed to be on there because it even popped up and said Bills start. So I clicked on it, and usually that takes me right to the game stream, and it didn't. Because if the game that's playing, whatever game is playing is what the NFL app will say game start on. Like it won't tell me.
Hmm.
I'll get an update for the Bills start because I have it labeled as a favorite, but whatever game is streaming on there, it usually pops up as this game start for this game or whatever. But it did that for the Bills, and I don't even. It took me to like the screen where it showed like the stats and highlight plays and things like that, but it didn't show me the actual game. So I was a little frustrated with that. But yeah, if they could figure that out, that would be fantastic.
All right. Well, week 3. If you had to pick one, what's the one game you're looking forward to watching of the Bears and the Jaguars? Because that's all they show.
Honestly, I'm kind of curious to watch the Eagles and Jets.
I was going to say that one too. I like that one.
Well, I mean, I want to see if Zach Wilson can keep this momentum going. Like he's progressed each week so far. Looked really good last week. I think he looked super poised. And I told you in last week's show that I wanted to see him be a little bit more aggressive and maybe at least score a touchdown. But he did exactly that last week. He looked every part of being the number 2 pick. So excited to see if he can keep it going and see if the Jets actually found their guy, and to see if I don't know if you've heard if Jalen Hurts is going to be able to play.
I'd like to see him play,
but I would like to see that offense with him as their starter as opposed to Joe Flacco.
That's what I mean. At this point, do they even? I don't know. I mean, he had a mysterious illness before the last game.
Yeah, that was weird. Did you hear anything about that?
No,
because
I'm wondering if the weather didn't look great there, and I'm wondering if they were like, "Oh, we don't want him to get hurt, so he's sick." Do you know what I'm saying?
So let's put 90-year-old Joe Flacco out on the field.
Yeah, because they don't care about 90-year-old Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is the undisputed.
He's QB1.
He's going to win the job. I'm going to go with a game that we can actually watch, Ryan, since you picked the one that's not on TV. But I'm going to go with the Niners and the Raiders, I think. I kind of want to see Trey Lance again, and I want to see Jimmy Garoppolo. I think last weekend, some people reached out once I made a tweet about Jimmy Garoppolo missing high, and had a nice talk with a couple of people on there. So nothing bad. It was all good. It was good. Bounced some stuff back off each other. It was a good convo. But I just want to see, you know what I mean? Both of them looked bad. So I just want to see if either of them look better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not calling for Trey Lance to start. I'm just worried that Jimmy Garoppolo looks that bad. You know what I mean? Like, every throw he made was high. So you can't argue, you know what I mean? But then Trey Lance came in and did the same thing. So I don't know if it was a coaching strategy, like, hey, these guys get their hands up quick, so maybe they wanted them to release them a little high. But they were missing wide receivers, and I know some of the balls were hitting them in the hands, and you could equally say the receivers got to catch it if it hits them in the hands, but a better throw makes it easier. They're making it tough on these wide receivers, and I'm just curious. I just want to see that offense, and hopefully, maybe you see Garoppolo, and hopefully he looks a little bit better. I'm just a little worried. That's all. So I just want to kind of see how that works out.
So I'm looking on NFL Network real quick while I was listening to you, and they actually don't show any stats for Trey Lance from that game. They got Nate Sudfeld and Jimmy Garoppolo. Did he not complete a pass or something?
No, he did. He had a touchdown.
Yeah, it shows Nate Sudfeld and Jimmy Garoppolo as the only 2 quarterbacks that had passing stats.
Yeah, the preseason stuff's weird, though, because, like, if you look it up on ESPN, it only shows you, like, last week's game. It doesn't show you for the year or for, like, the last 2. Unless I just don't know how to use ESPN's website.
On the scoring drive summary, it shows that he threw a touchdown to Sanu, a 5-yard touchdown. It doesn't show any stats for him in terms of passing, which is odd.
Probably just because he was that good, you know.
He was just so good they didn't want to put it on.
Yeah, they didn't want to make everybody else feel bad.
So one other thing I want to touch on real quick before we got to it. Did you see that Rashad Bateman is expected to play week 1 now?
No, I did not. I mean, I saw he got cleared to run routes. I didn't see that was cleared or / expected to play week 1.
That's from 2 different reports that I read that he is expected to be ready to go for week 1.
That would be really good for the Ravens, who lost James Prochet too. So I mean, not that he was really much, but like they had nobody left. So if Bateman's ready, I mean that could be a big game for Bateman.
Yeah.
I don't. Who do they play week 1? I should know
Uh,
that, and I
you
don't.
should know that.
But you don't know it either because you're looking it up right now.
How do you not know exactly what their schedule is?
Because I love them so much, it doesn't matter. I just put them in the lineup. I don't care.
That just doesn't matter who they're playing.
He just doesn't leave my lineup.
They
Bye
don't
week
end the
stays in
lineup.
there. Bye week stays in there just for pure.
Looks like the Raiders on the 3rd.
That could be a nice matchup for Bateman. Fantasy-wise, you know what I mean? If he's the only target out there.
Yep.
Aside from Mark Andrews, obviously, but interesting. That's good news. I like that.
Welcome.
Thank you. It makes me happy. All right, our risers. Now I'm making it hit the back seat. I'm going to take the easy one. Then you can try and defend yours, which good luck. But
what?
James Robinson is my riser from this week. Ryan says it's the easy one because I took the injury route. But either way, I think he should be here, and I think he should be the biggest riser personally. Last year, he was the RB4 in a lead role, and that's what he's going to have this year. Carlos Hyde is still there. I do not expect him to handle a ton of the workload. He will see some of it. So you might not see James Robinson get the same run that he did last season. However, I do think that it's possible for him to see close to probably 240 to maybe 260 in total total opportunities. So that's carries and targets or receptions. So I definitely think he can be a low end RB2 at the worst with how it's shaped up now without ETN in the picture. But he definitely has RB1 upside as he showed us last season. So for me, James Robinson's like a must add if you can, especially if you're a contender. He's definitely going to be worth the price. Maybe wait a little bit so that people aren't like totally taking advantage of you. However, I definitely think he's worth a look and worth a feeler to try and see if you can add him. Just because I think he's definitely going to have that upside this season. And, with Trevor Lawrence there, yes, they're going to want to pass a little bit more, but Urban Meyer's going to want to run the ball. And James Robinson's going to be that key cog, aside from adding somebody, which could happen as cuts come next week. But I'm all in on James Robinson. I think he's definitely the biggest riser from this week. And it's hard to argue against it. I know it's like, as Ryan says, the easy way out because of it's an injury. But, I mean, there's not another person I think this week that would have improved his stance for fantasy, aside from maybe you could argue Jameis Winston, who looked really good. I just don't think that there's anybody who had a better situation get improved. Just it was in an unforeseen, unsatisfactory way. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
Ryan?
no, I mean, it's hard to argue with it, man. Like I said, I kind of messed you a little bit for going the easy way out with that, but I mean, I completely understand. I completely agree because obviously his stock has to go up now. You're not gonna get him for what you're getting him for earlier in the year in the offseason, especially after the draft. And I know guys in my league, as soon as that news broke, as soon as I came across Sleeper or NFL, I can't remember which app or notification I got first, but as soon as it came out, I got 19 notifications saying James Robinson, come and get him. And I'm like, okay, like, no, I'm not going to send you 3 firsts for James Robinson this year. But
why not?
Because, but no, I can't argue with it. I can't say anything else. Carlos Hyde might vulture some touchdowns. Maybe, I don't know how their offense is really going to look with Urban Meyer in the driver's seat there for them. And having a rookie quarterback, they're probably going to lean on him a little bit. So, I can't really argue with that.
No need to.
No. Can't.
Ryan?
Can't argue.
Well, lead us into somebody who we shouldn't argue about either because I have equal love for him as well. So, but I'll let you handle the load.
So my riser for this week is Jared Patterson. Quite simply, he can play. He's looked great the last 2 weeks, especially this past week. Had 130 all-purpose yards, plus what ended up being the game-winning touchdown run. 166 scrimmage yards to the 2 games, averaging 4.5 yards a carry, 8.3 yards per reception so far. He's one of those rookies that's really taken advantage of the preseason and showing his skills and taking advantage of the opportunities that's been given to him by the coaching staff. And I don't think talent was ever really the question for him. I think teams were really just scared of his size because he is only 5'6", 195 pounds, according to Player Profiler. But he was super electric at Buffalo. I don't know if Jeremy, I'm sure you've heard a lot about him being where you're from. I know a guy that went to school at UBuff and was there when Patterson came in as a freshman, and he said that he was just absolutely the best player on their team. He was just electric at Buffalo, played really well in the preseason so far. At Buffalo, just under 4,100 scrimmage yards, 53 total touchdowns in 3 seasons, including 19 in only 6 games last year. I just love what I'm seeing out of him, man. I love his playmaking ability. Although he's unlikely to make a huge difference this season. J.D. McKissick is a unrestricted free agent next season. So in redrafts, maybe just add him to your waiver wire watch list just in case something were to happen to Gibson or especially to McKissick. But in Dynasty, I definitely want shares of Patterson. That's why I can stash him, and hopefully he can be the third down back or a change of pace back next year for what should be a pretty decent Washington offense.
Don't you kind of wish he gets cut?
Kind of.
I know it sounds mean and it sounds terrible, but I do. I wish he could almost get cut and possibly land somewhere else. You know what I mean? I agree with you. The kid can play. I liked him a lot in the pre-draft process. I was surprised that he went undrafted, but I was surprised a lot of people didn't get drafted. I know the running back class was pretty weak, but a lot of these guys fell that were really surprising, and a lot of these kids can play. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, he's more of an asset next year than he will be this year, aside from an injury. But yeah, I mean, when you said where, I mean, Atlanta. I think Atlanta, he could have some run. I think you could see. I mean, honestly, what about adding him into a field in Los Angeles? You know what I mean? The Rams are kind of iffy there. I mean, you got Xavier Jones and Jake Funk, who are decent, but I feel like Jared Patterson could win that battle as an off-speed pitch there. I mean, the Jets, but they're already kind of messy.
He would get cut and go to New England. That's what would happen.
Yeah, but they already got J.J. Taylor. They already got him.
I know, but that just seems the way that Bill Belichick runs things. He just seems to
probably
do things that mess with people's
Jacksonville, lives.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
But
if he gets put on the practice squad, somebody's definitely going to sign him on the practice squad, though.
At some point. He could come to the Bills. He could come back to Buffalo.
I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at that.
All right, Ryan, to the sadder part of our story, the ones we have to get the fiddles out for. I'll let you lead us. Who's your faller for week 2?
I feel like it's got to be Taysom Hill. I mean, did we see the end of the QB debate in New Orleans last night?
If I was the coach, I did.
I mean, because I think it did, to be honest with you. I mean, how can you not be encouraged from what you saw to Jameis? Not 9 for 10 with 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, all in less than a quarter of work. I get that it's a preseason, but come on, he looked very good. He looked confident.
And it was the Jags.
I mean, yeah, but still, he didn't look shaky at all. He
didn't. He looked good.
Looked poised, read coverage as well. Made some beautiful throws. I mean, Marcus Callaway did bail him out on that one-handed catch, but it was also pass interference. I'm pretty sure they ended up calling.
Yeah, but the ball was where it had to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the ball was perfect. The ball placement was beautiful. So I'm gonna mark that as a beautiful throw for him. And if it wasn't pass interference, it would have been a basket catch, and it's a touchdown anyways. So all that to say, Taysom Hill is definitely my faller for this week. I think it's a pretty far fall in my opinion. Hill was 11 for 20, 130 yards and a touchdown of his own. But the biggest thing for me was just the aggressiveness that we knew Jameis would come with. And Jameis averaged a little over 12 yards per completion. Hill only averaged slightly over 6. And Sean Payton has to see this offense is capped significantly more with Hill under center than it is with Winston, just simply due to his lack of playmaking ability. I understand that you can break the playbook open a little bit more with Taysom just because he can do some of the gadget plays and he can run trick plays with them and things like that. But I think that big playability that Winston offers, and as long as he limits his turnovers, that job should firmly be his. And I think he's in that QB one range, given that offense is willing to take risks and deep shots, as long as he keeps the turnovers down, which has yet to be seen because obviously he's had a fair share of turnovers in his career. But Taysom Hill is my faller, and I think it's a pretty deep fall after what we saw last night from Winston.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you'll still see him in the offense if he doesn't win the job. I think he'll just go back to what his old role was with Breeze. He'll come in, he'll be a kind of a gadget guy. Third downs, third and shorts, or fourth and short, something like that. But I agree with everything you said. Taysom Hill just doesn't have the deep passing game. That's what it is. You know what I mean? You see with his average depth of target. And honestly, it sounds weird, but I feel like the Michael Thomas injury hurt Taysom Hill. Because you have Michael Thomas there, it's not necessarily a field stretcher that he does enjoy the slants, hence the slant boy nickname that he was given by multiple cornerbacks. But either way, I just feel like that kind of hurts him because the receivers they have there now are these deep threat guys. And if you want to take advantage of that, your only option really would be Winston. You know what I mean? Like Callaway is Winston's wide receiver. You know what I mean? He's a deep guy. He stretches the field and he has good hands as he showed last week or yesterday. So I can agree with you there. And I'm all in. Like you said, Winston could be a high QB2, possibly QB1 in this offense if he has full reign of it. So even with the options that he has, I feel like, that's what's going to limit him. That's where I feel like he's going to probably be QB2 unless Thomas comes back sooner. But hey, who knows?
But at the end of the year, if Michael Thomas can come back fully healthy, I don't see a reason why Jameis can't be one of those guys in the playoffs that gets hot right at the right time and leads you to a championship if he's able to take full reign of the offense, like you said.
Yeah, he's my QB1 in like a best ball draft, so hopefully it was a bad draft. It was on a bad date, and it was a lot of auto drafts. Either way, it might work out. Anyways, please give me the fiddle, Ryan. A lot of fiddle, because I'm going to talk about somebody that I hype up on the regular. But I think it might be time to possibly start pulling the plug on some of it. Denzel Mims injured again this week. So yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it, but he's not trending in the right direction. He missed this week's game, obviously. He kind of seems like he's not this regime's type of receiver at the moment. Either that or he just doesn't look that good in camp, which could be a good possibility. I feel like he flashes at times, and I just wonder if that's all we're seeing. We're only getting those flashes, and maybe he just looks really, really bad in the other options. So right now it seems like it's Corey Davis and Keelan Cole as the top two wide receivers. I was hoping Mims would be able to beat out Keelan Cole, but it doesn't seem to be. So for me, at least this year, Denzel Mims is starting to seem like a shouldn't have drafted him type of player. But it's tough because now you're going to see this is a constant thing that kind of is starting to come out. So now I feel like he's going to become even more of a value in some drafts because he is falling so far. So it's hard, but he definitely fell, especially for this year. I just feel like Mims is kind of on the outside looking in right now. So the other issue is health concerns. Last year he missed time with 2 hamstring pulls, and now this year he's down again. So, Ryan, you can beat me. You can whatever you want to do. I'm just emotional right now because, yeah, we know why. He should have been the guy. I don't get it.
I feel like he does have the talent to be a guy in that offense. It's just he just hasn't had. I know he dropped down the depth chart through the beginning of the offseason, and then he got food poisoning and lost 20 pounds, had to work his way back from that, and now the injury, and it's just not – Elijah Moore was popping off before his injury. it was just one. It just seems to be one thing after another for Mims this season. Not really sure, and they re-signed Crowder too, so that didn't help his stock any. So I don't know. I do feel bad because, like I said, he was a guy that I liked going into this season before the draft, and then kind of took a little dip for me personally when they drafted Elijah Moore. But then you look at his profile, and it was a guy that you really liked athletically and just talent wise, he should be popping. And unfortunately, he's just had multiple things happen. And did you know he's only rostered in like 16% of sleeper leagues right now?
There's no way. You're lying to me.
I swear to God, I have him in a league, and I looked, and it said he was rostered in like 15.9% of leagues. I mean, I could be wrong, and it could be a glitch. I might have maybe looked at somebody else instead, but I'm pretty sure that.
Is it like specifically redraft?
I think that is a dynasty league.
There's no way.
I don't know if they go based off of that. I don't know if they go.
It might have been start percentage because it shows you both. Maybe you were just looking at that because there's no way it's 16%.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Hold on, let me go to one of my. It doesn't matter what team. One of my 35 that I have him rostered.
He's at 92.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it must have been either with somebody else that I was looking at because I was shocked too because I saw it and I was like, "There's no way that's true."
Yeah,
but it was like right before we came on, so I got off of it and then yeah. So I know I was wrong there, so I apologize. But still, bad news for him. Unfortunate for guys that were big on him going into the season this year. I still think he can recover, to be honest with you. But I'm just not sure it's going to be this season. I think it's just going to be one of those long-term values. Maybe he moves on from the Jets at some point and he revives his career.
Maybe he's just Corey Davis.
Maybe he's just Corey Davis.
Just not with the same draft capital.
Go buy Corey Davis, by the way.
Yeah, and Elijah Moore, and Jamison Crowder, and Keelan Cole.
And Zach Wilson, for that matter. Zach Wilson looks legit.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that one.
Yeah, what if the Jets are actually good for fantasy? That would be weird.
I just hope they're not good.
I don't know if I'm ready for it, to be honest.
I don't care how good they are in fantasy. I want them to go 0-16 or 0-17 for.
They just got to go 0-2 against the Bills. That's all I care.
No, because they could go 15-2 and win the division. So.
All right, fair enough, I guess. I guess
17 somehow. Figure out a way to have them all go 0-17. I don't care how it happens. Make it happen.
And you really don't like the Jets? Wow.
I don't like anybody in the AFC East.
What? You can't. How do you not like the Patriots? It was a joke. Gosh.
I will drive to Buffalo.
But really?
And just I can't say what I would do.
Yeah. It's PG, Ryan. All right, Ryan. Before we close it out and you drive here, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up.
You can find me on Twitter at Mackey_FFB. Hopefully to be putting some stuff out for FF League winners here shortly. I haven't been assigned an article yet, but I'm in talks with making up an article of my own about a couple guys that I really like this season, a couple guys that maybe are being slept on, at least in my opinion. So be on the lookout for that, and always check out yards per, things like that. We always putting out different articles that have multiple analysts on it. I know, Jeremy, you usually partake in some of the stuff, and I always try to anyways. I know this week I couldn't, but I usually put some stuff out there. So go check out that and go download the yards per app and check out that King Sports Draft Kit as well.
Love it. Excited to see what you have over at League Winners. You know, always excited to see good articles, and I'm sure yours will be great. So, myself, for anybody watching live, we just had someone run across the screen. It was a good time.
Oh man.
Anyways, you guys can find me on Twitter at PopesFFH. You can find any of my writing over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network or at Yards Per. And until next week, everybody take care.